All right, what is going on, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice Pacers. And guys, a ton has happened today for the Indiana Pacers. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome in. So I have to say this before we get into this video. Derek and I already had a video that we did where we recapped all of the moves. And since then, the Pacers have made a few other moves. And so I wasn't going to try to edit all that out and try to make it sound good. So I just wanted to create a whole new video and kind of do a recap of the day for you guys and let you know kind of why the Pacers did what they did and things of that nature and what some of the moves were. So I think the first thing we got to talk about, probably the biggest thing for the Pacers today, was the trading of Buddy Hield. So the Pacers traded Buddy Hield to this Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks, and also $1.2 million in cash. That was the first move the Pacers made. So obviously moving off of Buddy Hield and being able to get some draft capital, get a few players. I think the biggest thing was getting some draft capital and also getting some additional cash as well. Number two, the second thing the Pacers did, they traded for a very familiar face in Doug McDermott. So Doug McDermott was a guy that was with the Pacers for a number of years, and he did some great things with the Pacers. The guy that I think you look at and you say, hey, he can kind of replace some of that shooting off the bench that Buddy Hield was providing and kind of the role. While he's not the same player, and the Pacers will certainly miss Buddy Hield's shooting, spacing, all those things. Getting a guy like McDermott returning back to the Pacers makes a lot of sense, kind of on the back end of his career. I think he's 32 right now, so he's still pretty, he's still got a few years left, but he's definitely on the back nine as opposed to earlier on in his career. What they did for that is they sent Marcus Morris, a second-round pick, and $320,000 in cash to the San Antonio Spurs. McDermott's played 46 games this year for the San Antonio Spurs, and in that he has shot about 44% overall from three, only plays about 15 minutes. He only played about 15 minutes for the Spurs, so didn't get a ton of action, was more of a bench player, but definitely is a sharpshooter. No question about it there. And obviously he has some overlap with Rick Carlisle when he was in Dallas. And when he was in Dallas, he played in 26 games, shot around 50%, a little bit under, a hair under 50% with Rick Carlisle. And then, so that was the second move that the Pacers made. I think that was probably the second biggest move. The Pacers, they traded for Corey Joseph, so another familiar face, although they ultimately ended up waiving him as well. And so I guess that kind of one makes you wonder. There's one open spot left for the Pacers on their roster. To the guy like James Johnson, who just had his 10-day contract expired this morning. Is he a guy that the Pacers look to bring back, and if they kind of put the final touches, if you will, on their roster? So I guess some overall thoughts. First, the Buddy Hield one. Obviously, you didn't feel like he was a guy that was going to be here long-term for the Pacers. He came over in the Halliburton trade, had a couple nice seasons with the Pacers, but it was kind of becoming more evident and more clear that Buddy Hield's time with Indiana was definitely running short, and you definitely didn't feel like he was a guy that was going to, sign an extension with the Pacers. So Pacers were able to get something out of it, and definitely able to get some cap space out of it as well. I think the Pacers were right around $6 million or so that they gained in cash from all these trades today. And so you get him, and also you open up the opportunity for some of these young players like Benedict Mathurin, Ben Shepherd, the rookie as well. These guys are going to have to take on a little bit of a bigger role here. And so you definitely like that. And obviously you talk about McDermott, bringing him back makes you feel a lot better about the shooting. And especially from beyond the arc, we were able to see what he's been able to do. So kind of that 3-point specialist, if you will. You definitely needed that. And Buddy Hield just frankly wasn't providing that a good chunk of the season like he had been in years prior. So you bring in that guy, a familiar face. He knows Indiana. He knows Rick Carlisle. That makes a whole lot of sense for the Pacers overall. And they're kind of just making some trims to the roster and kind of figuring it out here for the final, stretch of the season after the All-Star break. Most likely, Johnson's probably going to get signed to the roster, but who knows? Maybe the Pacers are looking for somebody that they could add to the roster as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts overall here on the Pacers. Kind of very busy day here on the trade deadline. That'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Pacers.